I love absolutely every single one of you, and I truly want you to crush it in this life. That's why I spend so much time, passion, and energy creating this show, and it's also why I am urging you to pay close attention to this episode today. My name is Jack William, founder of Untitled, and your host of today's epic episode of Before the Money. The success does not depend on what we achieve, but who we become. This is the mantra of Before the Money, as a lot of you long-time listeners will know, and I am extremely honored to say that today's guest is the epitome of this mantra. Serial entrepreneur and coach Lewis Huckstep. Now, I'm not going to give away everything just now, but believe me when I say this episode is absolutely overflowing with value, whether you're new to the self-development space or you're a seasoned veteran. Some of the topics we discussed include how he was able to work his way up to owning 3 PLC gyms at the ripe old age of just 22, and we also covered the many failures along the journey that have provided him with invaluable lessons and learnings. We also talked about the battle between pride and ego throughout the journey, how to define your values and leverage them for a fulfilled and successful life, maintaining relationships while balancing large ambitions. For me personally, this is one that I've struggled with. His $152,000 lesson on intuition, tools to not only overcome failure and loss, but bounce back better than before. Reframing your sales approach to sell value and charge what it is you are really worth. Again, this is one that I've struggled with early on in my journey, and I'm still overcoming it today. And most importantly, the 5 actionable steps. Keyword there, actionable. The 5 actionable steps every person must take to kickstart their journey to success. Now, I'm extremely grateful for Lewis's vulnerability and generosity throughout this episode. I've personally taken stacks of value away from this conversation, and I know that you will too. Please pass this message on to anyone you think might value from it. Make sure to tag both Lewis and myself when sharing it to your channel of choice. Nothing fires us up more than knowing the work we put in and is positively affecting the lives of our community. Now, if you want to take your support just that step further, please check out the awesome range at anarchylabel.com and save yourself 15% off with the VIP Before the Money Only discount. Now, that would be BTM15, guys. Make sure you check it out. Seriously, there's some awesome stuff up there. So without further ado, grab your pens, switch on your brains, and I will see you in the studio. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of Before the Money. I am joined by the fantastic Lewis Huckstep. How you doing, brother?
Brother, I'm amazing. I'm excited and I'm grateful to be in an amazing studio. Amazing. Thank you.
Grateful to have you here, man. Grateful to have you here. Just straight off the bat, we've already been, engaging in some awesome conversations. I love your energy.
Thank you, man.
And I have
likewise.
Thank you. I have lots of respect for the work that you've put in to build the life that you've got. So I'm pumped for this conversation.
I'm excited to just see where it goes. I think from hearing your brief story, I think we'll be able to chat and just let the conversation take it where it goes. So I'm excited for wherever this ends up.
Yeah, well, that's the Before the Money method. So let's kick it off, man. What gets you fired up?
What gets me fired up? Stop me straight away. What gets me fired up? I love seeing people have those aha moments. I guess one of my highest values is teaching. So I live very much a DeMartini style of values and getting clear on what your values are and living to them. So my highest ones is learning, teaching, and wealth creation's number 3. So when I'm teaching and I'm seeing people have those aha moments, it's just, man, I'm quite of a sensitive cat. I get quite emotional, man. I had a sales conversation this morning. I signed a lady up to one of the businesses, and just connecting with her, she was vulnerable. She told me how anxious she was, how she's struggling with her mental health and it's affecting her kids and her relationship. And I just looked at her dead in the eye and said, I can fucking help you. And that's not, obviously there's a value exchange for money and she signs up and pays for it. But I had teary eyes just of how confident and how proud I am that I'm about to change her life. So that fires me up. It fires me up knowing the value that I can add to people and the flow-on effect and how that's going to impact all the other areas of life just from the value that I add. That fucking fires me up.
That fires me up, man.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. And yeah, just to think about like her going back into her environment as well and the impact that she's going to be able to have on her surroundings as well. It's just a ripple effect.
It's the I've done a lot of Kerwin Ray. Kerwin Ray's had a huge impact on my life, and he uses the echo effect because it's like that one person you help, it then it's the every person they engage with, from work to family to just people they work day to day that they run into. It's the flow on the cascade, the echo that you have on everyone in their life. So yeah, man, I don't take that shit lightly. That's why I love what I do, and I do what I love, and it brings. I'm grateful every day when I'm able to add value to people, man. So yeah.
Fantastic. And so you've been in business from quite a young age. Well, you've been taking actions in order to build the life of your dreams from a very young age. So why don't you kind of take us back to when that spark first ignited in you?
I've always been, I guess, quite an ambitious, driven person. Sports was definitely growing up where my ambition was. I had ambitions of making it professional in rugby league, and that was a huge first chapter of my life. And I was chasing that for many years. I got quite injured, and I just kind of started to lose the passion for it. But when I got really obsessed with like business and creating the life of my dream and getting clear on who I am, that was when I was 18. I came down, I was trying to get into the fitness industry. My life goal back then was to be a high school teacher and to be a personal trainer in the holidays to make more money. That's what I thought would be successful. You can make a decent wage as a teacher to make more money in the holidays. That's what I thought was success back then. And I started to get into the fitness industry because I applied at all these gyms and they all said no to me. I got offered a trial. I went down, did the trial and didn't get accepted there. And I gave up. I said, fuck this. I'm not going to be able to make it. I'd given up already. And I had one more shot. I jumped on Gumtree and I saw this place in Burleigh hiring a trainer. And I called them up and said, hey man, I don't want any money. I just want to work for free. I just want to learn and develop and get my foot in the door. Is that okay? He said, absolutely. Come on down. Little did I know that business was making like no money. So they had no one to pay for anyone anyways. But I came down and I got introduced to personal development. That was the best part of that whole experience, is getting introduced to Tony Robbins, to Gary Vee, to John DeMartini, to Jim Rohn from back in the day. Like, just when I got introduced to it around 18, I guess because I've always enjoyed learning and always it's a second value of mine. I just went down a rabbit hole. I remember when I first started and I was like up to like midnight just YouTubing Tony Robbins, just like watching everything to do with him, because it's like shit, you're like, fuck, why aren't we taught this shit in school? And you've probably heard that many times on this podcast, but it's just like the content just blew my mind. I'm like, fuck, this stuff can really help people. And it's like the Wizard of Oz. They just revealed, they pulled back the curtain, and I'm just like, fuck, there's another world out here. And but yeah, it was around 18, and I remember my mentor just sent me a YouTube video. He said, let me know what you think. And I didn't watch. He sent me it. I didn't watch it. He said, oh, let me know what you get out of this video. I'm like, fuck, I've got to watch it now. So I watched it, and it's just like, I think it was just a Tony Robbins rapport video, like how to match a mirror and how to just build rapport and how to ask quality questions. And I was just like, fuck, this is helpful. And it's like, I was just so engaged with it. So from that was just kind of the starting point. And then I've just gone down books, courses, programs, mentors, and I've just really enjoyed just developing and learning every single day.
The more you know you don't know.
Oh man, literally, like you think you're doing really well. And as soon as you get to that point, that's when you're fucked. But you just think there's just so much, man. There's so much. And when you get like the start of a new topic, it's just like, it's another rabbit hole to go down, man. So yeah, it's I fucking love it.
100%. Yeah, I resonate with that story as well, because I was very ambitious in high school, but kind of unguided in a lot of senses. You know, I was just like trying to do everything I possibly could to get towards like the dream life or whatever success was for me back then. But I didn't even start reading till after I left high school, you know, and that was a huge turning point for me. Like when I picked up that first book and just was like, wait,
what was the first one?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so after that, I went into How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Beautiful book.
I touch back to it every year, you know, without fail. It just, because it's so obvious in a sense, but that's because it works.
It's Warren Buffett says it. It's like, what's the best investment tip you'll ever give? And he says, reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because it just, if you want to be good at life, you got to have people skills. Yeah.
Well, it was written 112 years ago or something.
Fucking hell.
Still kicking on. Still up there with the best. It's fantastic. Yeah. So as soon as I started like reading, that's when all these kind of big ideas were like, oh,
now I have somewhere to go. Now I have some kind of direction. That's fantastic to hear you say that. Now, I read today that early on in life, you kind of were labeled with, was it Asperger's?
Yeah.
Yeah, Asperger's. And it would have been quite easy for you to allow that label to dictate your life, especially, hearing that in the formative years. Can you speak a little bit to what was going through your mind, like when you first like kind of figured out, or when you first were labeled with Asperger's, and how you were able to break free of that label?
I guess thank you for asking that question. It's for people that aren't familiar with it. It's on the autistic spectrum. There's a whole different array of different, I guess, versions of it. But if you've ever watched Big Bang Theory and Sheldon Cooper, that's me. So very like routine, liked it a bit rigid, no real sense of humor type of thing. That's me, and I'm still to this day socially awkward. Like even coming down here today, I was a bit nervous. I'm like, fuck, I've never been in. It's a new environment, new people. It still shows up, and I guess. As to answer the question, when I was younger, because you don't understand like the personal development, you're not aware that you can rewire things, and labels can really shape you if you believe them. I guess it really just affected me from, I guess, and it ironically served me to this day anyways, like everything does, but it just made me just buy into it, and then I would act differently. I would it becomes that self-fulfilling story. It's like I can't make friends, like. And I even got tested with it when I was young. I went to 6 different schools, so I'd always move schools because of mum and dad just living in different locations. And I remember like every day, first day of school, I cried. I was like, it's like socializing is like the biggest painful part for me. So to get dropped into new schools over and over again, it was fucking shit. Like I hated it. So I guess the reality of living with it is you get diagnosed and you get told that you are a certain way and this is who you are, and they put you into that box, and then you just limit yourself. You don't even consider opportunities, or you don't consider doing things that are outside of that box because of what a doctor or someone's told you. So until I gained consciousness, this is 20 years later, and like 21, 22, once I'd gone down that personal development route, man, it really restricted me. I repeated, I told myself that story, and Tony Robbins says it really well. The strongest force in the human personality is to stay consistent with how you define yourself. So if you tell yourself you are a certain way, you're going to be that way. It's like people saying, I'm a smoker, but I haven't smoked for 7 days. Well, you're going to be back smoking soon because you said it, you are a smoker. So if you say I am autistic, I am socially awkward, I'm not good with people, and these are all the things I've said for years, it's if you believe it, you're going to live it. And so it just really defined who I was for that period of my life. But it also obviously gave me a lot of strengths, and it gave me a lot of benefits to who I am today, which I'm very grateful for. But it definitely just cut off everything that was outside of that label and that box that I was put into.
So how and when did you make the decision to break away from that label? Because that's a really important part.
I guess just learning the tools. It's just like learning. It's like probably the biggest 2 mentors in this area for me is Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. DeMartini, and they just teach, and Tony Robbins as well would definitely be there. Just teaching that it's like, whatever story you tell yourself, I'm a visual teacher, so I'd normally have a whiteboard here, but I'd go, it's like, if you've got start at the top. So it starts as a story, and a story that you tell yourself long enough, loud enough, you begin to believe it. That belief then becomes a value for yours, and that value then creates an identity. So the beautiful thing about being human is you can rewrite that. If it's like people saying, I'm just not good with money, so you keep telling yourself that, then you're going to keep being like that. So I'm a master of money. I attract and create wealth. You just need to, over time, recreate it. So you've got pathways in your brain and in your mind, and say I'm 24, soon to be 25, and say I've got 20 years of saying I'm socially awkward. I'm not good with people, I get anxious in social settings. If I've done that for 20 years, then it's going to take a bit of time to rewrite that. So it's, I guess the part that gave me the consciousness to start to progress that was just learning that it was possible. It's like the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister, if that's how I get the name wrong, but it's like once it's possible, once you believe it's possible, then it's like the world's your oyster. You can overcome anything. So just learning that it was possible through neuroplasticity, neuroscience, and from just teachers like who I've mentioned earlier. Once I believed it was possible, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm not going to let anything define me anymore. So that was probably date-wise, that was probably about three or 4 years ago now.
Wow. So quite recent in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, pretty recent, man. Like my growth is like a hockey stick at the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's shot up in the last. It's as soon as I was exposed to it. So I was exposed to it 6 years ago now, but this specific what we're talking about probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're currently going through a little bit of a transition in your business. Like you've built a fantastic life, but what I'm kind of hearing you say from like the conversation beforehand is like the life that you build early in your success was, although you've gained lots of skills and fulfillment from that, it's not necessarily where you see yourself in the future. So talk us through what you're currently doing, and then maybe we'll chat about, that transition and stuff like that as well.
Okay. Whenever I teach from the start forward. So continuing when I came down from for work experience, I worked for free for 2.5 years, a lot of work experience. And the owner at the time, Scott, offered me 50% of the business to buy in for 50% of it. So I bought 50% of that, and that's when I was 20. And then within 6 months, and this is like in hindsight to give context, we had no fucking clue what we were doing. We were just like building a business off enthusiasm, no systems, no processes, no one was getting paid, everyone was working for free. We had a network marketing company that we're involved with, so that's how everyone was making money and surviving. But what we were doing in hindsight was very illegal. We hadn't, like, it was, and it wasn't sustainable. We were building it was a house of cards, and we were so enthusiastic and so excited about what we're doing, we just pulled it off. Then this was the long hours. This is where I had no work-life balance. I was working Monday to Sunday, 16, 18 hours, and I wore that with like a badge of pride too. I was actually quite proud of it, and like, fuck, why was I doing that back then?
Any chance to talk about it as well? Like,
So fuck yeah, I had 4 hours sleep last night, and I feel great, even though you don't feel great. No. So from 18 to like 22, it was like hustle. It was just every day, work harder, be better. And so I got the 50% of the first one in when I was 20. I got the keys to the second one on my 21st birthday on the northern end of the Gold Coast, and then got my third one in a year later when I was 22. So I got in 4 years owner of 3 gym franchises, but did it all wrong. No sustainability. It was all off hype and ego. Like I was trying to be the guy that just impressed everyone online. I was trying to have like owner of like CEO of business owner on this, multiple gym owner, blah blah blah. Just trying to inflate the ego, trying to impress people, and just trying to act like I was doing better than what I was. Like in reality, I had 3 businesses, but fuck, I was not enjoying it. I had no relationship at that time because in my head I had the limiting belief around relationships. I'll maybe talk about that later. But yeah, it was just not sustainable. I loved what I was doing though. I was obviously learning a lot, growing a lot. So there was a lot of growth that came along with that. Obviously, fucking huge internship as a business owner. But it generally wasn't aligned with who I truly was deep down. Like it wasn't the teaching and the learning that I loved the most. So I love coaching people. I love helping people with their limiting beliefs, with their mindset challenges, traumas, anxiety, depression, body image, PTSD. That's my magic. That's what I love working with. So I always got the fix of it doing what I was doing, because I kind of became everyone's life coach at the gym. You'd sign up for the gym, but even like I just mentioned the lady that joined up this morning, I was already in her first consult. I was talking about her anxiety, her body image, her traumas. I was talking about someone's traumas on their first session, first consult at a gym, because that's what I know I can help people with. So I always got the fix out of it, doing what I did for 5 or so years, but it just truly wasn't aligned with what I was doing. And honestly, it's because I wasn't confident enough to follow what I truly wanted to do. I was caught with someone else's vision, which was the guy that started the gyms that I was in, and I believed in the mission he was on, but it wasn't my mission. And I think back, especially when I was 18, I definitely had no belief in who I was back then. So because my lack of confidence and belief back then is I just latched onto someone else's vision and just became the yes man for him. And then over the years, it was just developing my own confidence, belief in myself, my own skills, my own tools. It's like just having the confidence to say, fuck, I don't, like early on, I wanted to open up 50 gyms. And looking back, and I'm like, fuck, why did I want to do that? So much moving parts, so many things that I didn't want to do. But again, it's because I was following someone's vision that wasn't mine, and I didn't have the confidence to say, you know what, this is what I fucking want to do. I want to do this even if I don't know what the fuck to do. Even if I don't have that pathway in front of me, I haven't got that system or that step-by-step in front of me, I fucking love it. I'm willing to put in the work to figure it out. So that's a recent shift for me. That's probably 6 months ago ish is where I hired myself out of it, what we were speaking about before. That's only about 12 months ago where I said, you know what, this is not for me. I love the gyms and I'm helping people, but these are just vehicles to give me cash flow to do what I truly want to do, which is coach people, help people, educate people, do podcasts, make content like we are today. But yeah, that was probably my experience with that, following what was adjacent to what I wanted to do, but it wasn't truly what I wanted to do. I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah, no, it definitely did. And so, do you think you found the coaching and aspect of your passion through working in the gyms and building those businesses? Like, did you have a clear vision beforehand, or you're just driven by the desire for success?
Great question. It's I think if I was to the language I use is values, and just to give context on values is not like loyalty or respect or honesty, because that's what that's social. They're personality traits. It's like people say, I love it when people say I value honesty. I say, great, do you fucking lie as well? And everyone lies as well. So everyone lies, everyone's honest. Like, I'm a super nice guy, I can be a dick as well. Like, everyone experiences all characteristics. So when I say values, it's like, what areas of your life are important to you? And you can answer those questions of, what do you spend your time doing? What do you spend your money on? What do you think about? What goals have always stayed consistent in your life? What do you visualize about? What do you talk about in social settings? So I think I wasn't conscious of it, but I was just habitually just doing what I love. I love teaching. So I would always be teaching, and then I guess teaching the things that are important to me, because I had that very anxious upbringing and that those challenges with my labels that I was given as a kid. It's like I'm obviously got a lot of passion around helping other people not be limited by their own ones. So I wasn't conscious of it. I've never been asked that question, but I wasn't conscious of it. But I think I was just being me in the context of where I was in the environment of taking sessions. I was saying before we started this, like, we're taking a class of, say, 40 people. It's quite funny. I actually want to record it one day. I want to like put a mic myself and record myself do this. But I'll go up to someone and say, and I can remember all the conversations. I remember, I've got a great memory in that sense. But I'll go up to someone and I was speaking about their relationship 2 minutes earlier because I just did a lap of the room. I said, great. So how are you solving that challenge with your partner? How are you overcoming that? Like, is he really the partner for you? Does your heart want to be with him, or is it time to end that relationship? I would have that while they're doing a workout, and then I'll move on to the next person. Great, how's your job going? Great, you're running a business. How's your culture at the moment? How's the culture of the business? How's your sales going? How's your marketing going? How are you going to grow the business? What's your plan? So I would literally have like a coaching session mid-workout. So I guess that's where I got the fix from it. I definitely developed the skill in it. I'm very grateful for that. I got very good at question ask, and I got very good at connecting people skills. So it definitely grew me a lot, but I think I just did it unconsciously. I wasn't conscious of what I was doing, but it's definitely served me a lot to this day.
Yeah, well, now that you've been through that experience and you can kind of look back in retrospect, how would someone maybe early on in their journey really get a understanding, and I'll use like your terms as well, understanding for their values and what lights them up in the world?
There's a process to go through. Like, I've got a YouTube video that goes through the process. Just go YouTube Lewis Huckstep values, and it'll be there. There's a downloadable PDF. It's all free, but there's a process to go through. Like, my passion of where I help people goes, like, it's kind of, I worded it the other month to someone that I've never worded it before. It was along the lines of, I love helping people get clear on who they are, the life that they want to create, then help them overcome the mental limitations that are going to stop them from getting there. That is kind of that's going to be me for the next 20 years. I'm going to build a business around it. I'm going to help as many people do that, what I just said. So the starting point I start with is with values, because there's a process to do it. Because it's like when someone say, what's your purpose? I've never seen a system or a process to help someone find their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like most ones I've heard is your purpose in life is to find your purpose.
Yeah.
But with values, and because your values are a derivative of your purpose, you can start there, then work the other way. So like I did a workshop on the weekend, and the first thing we do, share my story, then I go through the values determination process. It's a set of questions, you categorize them, then you label them. It takes probably, if you do it properly, 20 minutes. So it takes 20, 30 minutes to do it properly. And then from there, you can, okay, well, there's your values. Then what's your purpose in life? Then what's your mission in life? And then what's your vision in life? And then you can actually live a life in line with that. But that's the process I do. I start with that. And it's 13 questions. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's... what do you talk about? So in social settings, like for example, a lot of people have family as a high value, and they always talk about family. I never talk about family. I don't ask, oh, how's your mum and dad going? Sometimes I do, obviously, just be nice, but I talk about business. I talk about you asked me what book am you asked me what book am I reading? I would assume learning's important to you because you talk about it. I would assume we were talking about image before. You said you take pride in what you look like. That means image is a high value of you. That's awesome. And it's like when you get clear on it, and this is the magic sauce that I love, and these are the light bulbs that set me on fire from your first question, is when you can help someone uncover and remove all the shit that isn't them, all the things they think they should do, they ought to be, they've got to be because of their parents, social media, society, and you get them clear on who's the authentic fucking version of you, and then live a life and fill your calendar up with things who are truly you. Fuck, your life's exciting. Yeah. Because you're not doing shit you don't want to do. It's like, oh, if you ever catch yourself saying I should, or I've ought to, I've got to, or I have to, you don't. That's you putting other people's values on you. It's like people, oh, you should spend more time with your family. It's like, according to who? Yeah. I didn't get a user's manual that told me that. And that person would have a high value in family. And say hypothetically that person's overweight and unhealthy. It's like me saying, well, you should go to the fucking gym more. That's just me putting my value of health onto them. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And for everyone listening as well, just go back and absorb all of that again. Yeah. Seriously. It's insane because we can get so caught up in, like you were saying, the perspectives of the world around us, because every second of every day we have other opinions being bombarded on top of us, you know? And I find, like, for me personally, early on in my journey, I found it very difficult to stay focused on one particular business idea because I was so kind of hungry for what society was showing me as success. I saw, like the shiny object syndrome. I was that to a T, you know? I was just like, oh, running in this direction, running in that direction. And then after probably like 2 or so years of that, I was just kind of like, I looked back and I was like, oh, all right, yeah, I've gained a lot of skills, read a lot of books, but in terms of like financial success, I haven't allowed any of these avenues, I haven't given them the respect they need to actually be fruitful, So really interesting. Like I said, go back and listen to like the last minute again because there's so much value in there.
And I find, man, like that is so common because obviously we don't get taught this stuff. And I don't want to turn this into a whole that should be taught in school podcast, but
this should all be taught in school.
It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, it's something and another point on values, I don't want to talk about values the whole podcast, but on values again is, it's like your voids in life. So your values come from, so like on a timeline, say early on in your upbringing or life in your childhood, things were quite painful. Then later in life, they become more valuable for you. I told you what I was like. I told you I got labeled dumb, stupid, couldn't learn, socially awkward. Because that was so painful for me, it became important to me. That's why learning is a high value of mine. It's the highest, actually. And the second one's teaching. Like I got told I couldn't communicate well. I couldn't, when you get your biro license at school.
Yeah,
I was the last fucking kid in the class to get it because my handwriting is still shocking. But it's like that was painful for me then, so it's important to me now. It's like when we grew up, my family really struggled financially, so wealth was a painful thing for me. So it's important to me now. Yeah. It's like it's like image is. I won't turn this into a coaching session with you, but it's like, if image is important to me now, I would ask questions around when was image or presentation painful for you as a kid? And those moments is what creates those values for you later. When was learning painful for you as a kid? We won't turn into that, but just for people listening, it's like to help you figure out what's important to you now. They come from those painful experiences when you were growing up.
Wow.
Hope that made sense.
That made perfect sense. And our time has just gone off for the first section. So thank you guys for hanging around. This has been packed full of value already. Thank you, Lewis, for dropping bombs on us.
Thank you, man.
If you guys are enjoying us, if you're getting value, please take a quick screenshot, post it to your channel of choice, tag Lewis and myself, and we will see you guys back in a second. Peace.
Peace.
All right, we are back. Thank you guys for waiting around the
Part 2.
milliseconds. Part 2, maybe we might go a part 3. We'll see.
If you're lucky.
We'll see. So I've got a question, and this comes from kind of my own difficulties that I've been experiencing, you know, as someone who is very driven and motivated, and like my kind of mission is always my highest priority, right?
Awesome.
I've had difficulties in the past with maintaining like friendships long term. You know, friendships tend to be quite situational based on this part of life that I'm going through. So as someone like yourself, you know, you've been on the mission, you've put lots and lots of effort into your growth. How have you dealt with something similar? And if so, like, how do you get through that, maintaining relationships?
Absolutely, man. Like, and just the way you worded that was fucking awesome. Just like your mission's your highest priority. I fucking love that. I love that. I enjoyed that. Man, absolutely. And so back to that story of when I started when I was 18, I went down to the gym. So the short version of it was you marketed a gym, they come down to train, but the goal was actually to get them on supplements and do network marketing. So I did network marketing when I was 18, and for everyone that knows of it, it has a pretty terrible name. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a cult. It's a scam. I was in year 12 at school when I started this, and I was part of the footy team. So the boys loved it. So the company I did was Herbalife back then. I would walk into lunch and I would just get, "Oi, Herbalife kid, sell me some fucking drug pills and shit." And I ended up just embracing it. Yeah. And I had this big like Herbalife pill box, like this big, like it's like the size of a laptop. And I'd pull it out and put it on the table in front of everyone. I just ended up embracing it. But the fact is, it's like we're herd animals. It's like in the wild, it's like what happens when the zebra gets separated from the herd. What's going to happen to poor Stripey? Gets eaten. It's gonna die. So habitually, we have that mammal instinct to us to be herd mammals and herd creatures, because it's safety. There's safety in a pack. So, and what animals do in the pack, it's like it's called a correction. It's like if a horse, or let's say a zebra again. So say a zebra starts to demonstrate things that are not in order or not common or not normal for the herd, the pack leader will give that correction to it to not allow that anymore. And then Stripey's got two decisions. It's conform with the pack or leave. But because most people, obviously back to humans now, most people fear that unknown of, fuck, I've got no friends then. I can't leave. These have been my friends for so long. I don't know anything else. And what if I leave and I can't find anyone else? So that we've got that. It just says mammals, animals, I can speak properly, as just being the creatures that we are. We've got that deep-seated belief of abandonment. We've only born with three fears: loud noises, heights, and abandonment, for survival reasons. Wow. It's heights kill you, loud noises are going to kill you, and abandonment's going to kill you. So we've only born with those three. The other ones you've picked up from someone else or something else. So we've got it in us, so it's very normal. Everyone is going to experience it, and I guess it's probably one of the opportunities, or one of the I guess initiations that you to go through to become an entrepreneur, or not just an entrepreneur, just anyone that wants to have a better quality of life, is you've got to be able to either separate that herd, or you're going to change the herd. But obviously the second option is normally harder for one person to influence maybe 15 people. So it's very normal. And the way I looked at it, to use a relationship example, my beautiful partner, Georgia, that I'm over fucking heels in love with. When I first met her, I was in a period of my life where I had negative beliefs around relationships. My parents were very abusive physically and mentally and verbally. My football friends, when I went to school, they would cheat on their girlfriends every single weekend and just lie to their faces about it. And I had a lot of negative beliefs around relationships. So I stayed single for a long time, consciously. I obviously had the opportunities to do it, but I just always said no. And then when Georgia came into my life, that typical player attitude, I said, look, I don't want anything. I'm busy. I've got my mission. It's my priority. I'm business orientated for the next 5-10 years of my life. I don't want to do you a disservice, and I don't want to give you the lack of time that you deserve. So I was really upfront. I was really transparent about it. And then she wooed me over. We started spending more time together, and I'm like, fuck, what if this can work? What if I don't have to work 18 hours Monday to Sunday, and I can still build a great life? And there was a conversation I had with her very early on, and I said, George, because she wasn't into personal development, I started sending her videos when we started dating. I sent her Tony Robbins' documentary on YouTube, and I said, hun, I'm going to be really honest and transparent with you. If I continue to grow and I outgrow you, that's going to create a gap between me and you. And that lack of conversation, rapport, question asking, intimacy, connection, because of the lack of growth and the gap that will be created because I am going to grow, it's going to ruin this relationship. I'm not saying you have to become Tony Robbins or you have to go next level, but if you don't consciously decide to work on your own personal growth, your own insecurities, your own traumas, your own shit that you haven't worked through, it will ruin this relationship. So I guess in the context to your original question is, you've got to understand that if you're not in an environment that's growing, they're going to pull you down. And you've just got to, I guess the tips to help someone that's going through that is understand it's normal. It's very normal. And understand there's a ton of people, and I guess as a whole, entrepreneurship and personal development becoming more popular because there's more people like yourself making videos, making podcasts and sharing content like that. So there's so many people out there. You've just got to, probably back to what you said, you got to decide what's more important, pleasing the herd and staying where you were, or your life's fucking mission. And your mission will die if you decide to hang around those people, because you got to get around hungry people. You got to get around people that are doing shit. You got to get around people that challenge you to be better. So yeah, I definitely experienced it. Out of high school, I think I've seen like 4 or 5 of my friends in 6 years.
Yeah.
And some of them keep in touch with me, but I still see them, and I've got some in particular that I still talk to them. It's like I just see them going out, buying all the latest glamorous stuff, which I know they can't afford. They're slaving their asses off at a job that's shit, and they're trying to look rich. They're trying to look like they're killing it when I know they're not. So, and the reality is, this particular person I'm referring to, it's like I've tried to help him in the past, and it's like he just keeps going back to the herd.
Yeah.
He tries to get out, but then he gets drawn back. So it's kind of like, what's more important, your life's mission, or staying with that circle of friends that are just keeping you trapped. So yeah, I don't know if that added any value to your question, but that's how I would personally approach it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've had many conversations with myself over the last year in particular, just kind of on this topic. And the one thing that I've kind of accepted within myself is life is just stages, and there are people that are, in your life for particular stages, the same way that you're in their life for particular stages, and then you go off in different directions, because everyone, whether they're conscious of it or not, is fulfilling their own prophecy. They're fulfilling their own manifestations, whether that be positive or negative, basically. So when my manifestations no longer align with, the people that I'm around, I've kind of accepted the fact that, hey, we can go different directions now. Always making it a high priority to leave relationships in good standing, always be respectful, all that kind of stuff, even if sometimes the respect hasn't been reciprocated. Because at the end of the day as well, it's the words you vocalize, whether you're saying them to someone else or whether you're saying them to yourself, your mind only hears them as being said to you.
I like that.
Anything that comes out of your mouth, your mind reverberates as the information that you're feeding it, basically. So that's a major thing that I've kind of had to work on personally. And entrepreneurship can be lonely. It can be really fucking lonely.
Very lonely.
And I went through a little bit of a stage when I left school. I just went full hermit mode, and just focused on business. Didn't really talk to anyone. I didn't go out, never went to schoolies or anything like that. And what that experience did for me is I started, when I re-entered the social scene, because without that human interaction, I then was like, oh, I'm an introvert, you know, and I started like going back to what you were talking about early on. I started telling myself I was an introvert, and I was like, when the fuck have I ever been an introvert? All of a sudden I'm telling myself I'm an introvert, and I was embodying being an introvert. You know, when I was down in Sydney, like I used to have to take myself on walks when we were out at events to psych myself up to go in and talk to people.
Wow.
You know, and that's like, where on earth did that come from? I was so like bubbly in school, but the conversations that were going on in my head were then manifesting into the way I put myself out into the world.
Are you experiencing that question you asked me? Are you experiencing that at the moment? Is that why you ask?
I always experience it, you know, and I have, like I said to you in the beginning, it's something that I've always kind of dealt with. You know, I never had like a group at school. I floated between all the groups.
You remind me, I was like, I was friends with everyone, just like floated between them.
And like, because and I say this to people all the time, because going back to what a value of mine is, I love deep conversations. I love, you know, that's why I started a podcast.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, perfect.
So I remember saying this to someone just the other day. Actually, is like, you know, I am my own best friend, and that's why I haven't ever needed a group. But at the same time, I'm human. I love to feel like I belong.
Yeah. Be a part of that herd. Be a part of a community.
100%. So, you know, but then like I have these kind of conversations like, yeah, I am thinking of a particular instance that did happen quite recently where, you know, in my mind, it's like, yep, no, found the tribe. This is great. And then yet situation changed. And then because my mission is my highest priority, I couldn't in my own consciousness stay in that group when it was no longer driving me in the trajectory that I needed.
I love that, man.
You know,
it's like you're prioritizing. In the book I'm reading at the moment, it's like they like a masculine man, because you can have a feminine man or and the genders don't play part of it. The masculine, whoever's the masculine role, which is generally the man, it's like his highest priority is his life's mission. And whenever you sacrifice that, the people in your life, their respect lowers for you. So, and I think that's awesome. I think that's a very, very courageous and a very incredible attitude to have. Something that it reminded me of as well, something that DeMartini's taught me, really has stuck with me, is if you're not constantly losing yourself, then you're not growing. Because if you don't constantly find yourself a little bit lost with who's your tribe, what are you doing? Who the fuck am I? Like, if you're not constantly doing that, then you're not growing, because like maximum growth occurs on the borderline of chaos and order. So you need that growth to, oh my God, I've just learned all this stuff, but fuck, how does that apply to my life now? Fuck, is that going to change what I'm doing? And who the fuck are these people am I hanging out with? Like, if you're not constantly finding yourself a little bit lost, then I would be concerned if you weren't. Because if you weren't, then you're doing the same shit, saying the same person, doing the same thing. So I think finding that period where you do question, fuck, is this the right group for me? Is this really my tribe? And yeah, I think I've never spoken with anyone about this, but I think it's a very normal thing from what I've learnt anyways. Yeah,
exactly. And I've got a question for you as well. You know, as someone who's on the entrepreneurial journey, and how we spoke about earlier, it can be quite lonely. How do you feel like your actions have changed now that you've kind of got like a solid partnership with you and your girlfriend?
Big time, to be honest. Yeah, like it's a lot. Like when we first came into each other's worlds, I was the 18-hour-a-day worker. I was working. I was proud to live off 4 hours sleep, and anyways, yeah, she's balanced me out. A huge thing again from DeMartini is balance. So like it's ironic you just shared briefly about the polarity with your parents. It's like they were polar opposites and they balanced each other out. So she's really balanced me out from a feminine side of things. She's given me more understanding. She's allowed me to stay more neutral. She's allowed me to regulate my emotions more. She triggers me heaps, but you get triggered most in a relationship because they get to know you the most deepest. So they bring up that deep stuff you haven't healed from, and it gives you the opportunity to heal through it. That's why you get triggered in a relationship. That's why you have arguments, or it doesn't have to become an argument if you know how to control it. But the question originally, what was the original question? I got track of that.
How was that like shaped the way that you're now putting yourself out into the world and your actions?
It just In what sense? Just so I answer that correctly. What's,
So,
from a business sense, from a how I talk to people, like the content that I make, like just
Yeah.
so I can answer that question the right way.
I'm going to make it difficult for you and say all of the above.
Okay. She just made me a more balanced person. Like I've got friends and business friends who they're so toxic masculine. They're very extreme. They're very like hustle. Like if you've seen the movie Jobs about Steve Jobs with Ashton Kutcher in it, you're like early Steve Jobs 1.0, like everything needs to be done fucking yesterday. Nothing's good enough and very extreme. He needed Wozniak, the more calm, integrated personality to balance him out. So I was very more like extreme without Georgia. She really helped me find. She allowed me to also figure out who I am as well, because I've definitely got that people pleaser attitude. Like I said, I was latched onto someone else's vision. She gave me that opportunity to actually believe in myself. So she gave me a lot of self-belief, and I keep coming back to the word balance, but she's just balanced me out in a lot of ways. The way I communicate, the way I work, having time to switch off. Like today, like the old me would be working right now, but it's like, you know what? I've been invited on a podcast, and I'm grateful and excited to be here, and I don't have to worry about my phone. I don't have to worry about all the messages and the emails that I could be doing right now, and all the other projects I could be working on. So she's taught me how to switch off. She's taught me how to communicate at a really high level, because if you can handle the navigation of communicating with an emotional female, then you can handle it when your manager's being a dick or your manager's not hitting their KPIs, etc. So she's helped me, mate. I say it hand on heart, getting in a relationship has given me the most growth than any fucking course has. Hands down. The amount of stuff that gets brought up in a relationship, which allows you consciousness to work on that stuff because it's coming up for a reason. And just balancing out my masculine extremeness of like working fucking such big hours and wearing it as a badge to being more balanced, more calm, more neutral, being more centered. That's probably how I would answer that question. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. And I resonate with a lot of what you've said there. And basically, because like we was talking about beforehand, I'm 6 months out of a 7-year relationship. And when you were just like, your relationship has given you more than any course, I feel like I really matured, especially as a man, through that experience.
100%.
Learning to coexist with another human being that is so... They're wired completely different, you know? They have completely different motivations, and you've really got to learn how to put yourself outside of your own perspective and say, hang on, this person doesn't look at life through the same lenses I do. How can I have the empathy to understand what that lens looks like for that person, then communicate that without it being a bloodbath, an argument, basically.
And most people avoid that. And I love the fact that you said that. It's like, if you're having disagreements or arguments, that's just feedback. It's just feedback that there's healing to be done. Something that I think I've personally got out of a relationship a lot is learning to validate other people's opinions and perspectives, especially being the masculine problem solver. When your partner comes to you with an issue, most men just want to fucking solve the problem straight away. Where it's like, a lot of the time, she just wants to feel heard. She just wants to feel understood. She just wants to feel appreciated, and sometimes just vent. It's like a question I asked Georgia. It's like, babe, are we ready to solve the problem, or would you like to vent a little bit more? And I say that with love, because sometimes I understand she's just like something the feminine wants to do, and they just want to get it off their chest, and then they'll be ready to problem solve it and take care of the problem. But I think most people avoid that part, and it pisses them off too much, and they get too agitated, and they have a fantasy of what a relationship would like, just sunshine, rainbows, and fucking hot sex every 2 seconds. It's like an amazing holidays. That's Hollywood. That's not a real relationship. A real relationship is dealing with your own shit, bringing shit to the surface, and being mature about it and working through it. And I just don't think many people are ready to admit that and take that shit head on. So thank you for sharing. I think that's awesome.
My pleasure. No, thank you for sharing everything you've said today. Seriously. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit more, because I want to kind of go back to the business sense, because this is before the money at the end of the day. I light up when we talk about business. So
awesome.
What has been, say, like a failure that in the time, was heartbreaking, it was hard to deal with, that has led you to success later on?
There's been a lot. There's one that stands out. So this is back to me not knowing what the fuck we're doing. I told you what we're doing was illegal, and I'll share something where it actually was illegal and I got in trouble for it. So I had an employee, and I hired this employee, and at the time I was really stressed. I was not in a good space. I was burnt out, and I was just not in a good space. And we were actually trying to sell one of the businesses. We're trying to sell one of the gyms, and we had a buyer in mind. And it was like the buyer wasn't going to buy it for another couple of months, so I needed to hire a manager for like a couple of months. And I hired this person, and this person didn't feel right. And I'm a very energetic person. I didn't like this person, but I needed to hire someone, and I hired someone. I hired this person, and I still always did what was best. I always intentionally do my best I can. I don't try to do anything wrong and fuck anyone over. But this person ended up making a work cover claim against the business, against me, for a stress-induced injury at work. And I still don't know what that means either. And long story short, I didn't have work cover insurance. I didn't know what it was. So, and this person won their case, and we ended up having to pay all of this person's medical bills, living expenses, and that person's salary amount until that person was recovered from that injury, which was 2 years. So we ended up paying $152,000 for a stress-induced injury at work, and the injury came from one conversation and a voice message that I sent this person. And the old me fucking lost it. And I was like so angry and so pissed off. I cried. I didn't have that much money.
Yeah.
152 grand. I didn't have that. I was 22 at the time. I didn't have that much cash. The business was barely breaking even. We were making a little bit of money then. We were making maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 each a week. Not 152 grand worth though. And I blamed. I was like, fuck you. And I just so angry and so judgy. And then this is pre the amount of learning that I've done since then, and since learning new tools and new perspectives, it's learning that everything served you. It's like long term, I'm going to have many employees. I'm going to have multiple businesses. I'm going to have so many different relationships and so many different opportunities for things to go wrong. It's like, do I want to have successful businesses? Is that going to require me hiring the right people? Has this taught me to be fucking very, very crucial and very conscious of who I hire? Fuck yeah. Is it an expensive lesson? Yes, it's been an expensive lesson, but if I didn't learn that now and what's the cost of not learning that now? And what if it took me another 5 years of mistakes to learn that? It's like, maybe I needed, like, I want to remember who actually told me this quote, but it's like, when some people need to learn something, the universe will give them a breath of fresh air. That's not the right word. Sometimes you know what I'm trying to say. Some people get hit by, some people get slapped across the face. Some people need to get hit by a fucking bus to wake up. And that was my bus. That was me just getting hit, being like, Lewis, fucking wake up to yourself. You knew you didn't like this person. You knew it didn't feel right. Like, this person was smoking, and like, nothing against smoking. That's totally fine. But when you're in a health and fitness industry, and when you're the manager of a gym, and this person's like shaking and having to go out to have a smoke, like, that's a sign, that's a red flag. And I saw that, and I just chose to ignore it, and that the universe came around and hit me across the face with a huge fucking lesson. But that lesson to now, I've got an incredible fucking team. Like, the team there, every person in the businesses wants to be there. They're grateful for be there. We're aligned with their future goals, and they're aligned with the business's mission and vision. So it's like, I had to experience that fuck up to have the team that I have today. So that was one of them. There's many of them, but that's certainly one that stands out to me. That's
super valuable that you've able to take that lesson and directly translate it into, how you spend every single day from that. Because a team, it makes or break a business, Yeah. When you're starting a business, you feel like you can do everything off your own back, off your own sweat, right? You're like, if I just give it my all, the universe will reward me, Yes, you're giving yourself the best possible chance by, having great intentions and putting the work in. But at the end of the day, like, the universe doesn't owe you shit. And I definitely went through many stages like that. Like I spoke to you briefly off air about that. The very first time I placed my own manufacturing order, I placed it a huge order. I didn't put that much thought into the pieces I was actually designing. I was just like, yep, get some products and I'll sell it, and I was like, it'll work out because everything else has worked out in my life. And then after that, I got a huge slap in the face. Still to this day, I'm selling pieces from that first collection. And that really taught me. Now, every time I sit down and I'm designing a collection, I'm so meticulous. I'm the biggest critic for these collections because it's like, I do not want to have to deal with that, because it wasn't just a financial loss. It was the headache, the stress, and still I've got boxes that are just sitting there and it's still taking up mental space. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with this stuff? I'm contemplating, do I do a charity drive and all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't suit the style of the brand anymore. So I can't sell it, but it's and it's still taking up mental space. Still to this day, we're talking about it right now.
It's made it on the podcast.
It's made it on the podcast, and so. But I'm so glad I had that experience, because every kind of collection since then has been so well thought out.
A lot of my work it's a great example, by the way, great story, and it's a good. You've come to terms with it, and you're healing. You're. I don't think you're too caught up on it, but for people with say problems where they're still holding on to it, they haven't worked through it. Questions to ask yourself is how is this serving me? How is this moving me towards my mission? How is this helping me get there? If you go through the values stuff we were talking about before, how is this serving my highest values right now? How is this helping me be a better teacher? How is this making me a better learner? How is this making me create more wealth? How is this making me a better communicator? So yeah, just controlling your perspective, because it's all happening for a reason. That in the scheme of things of your journey of where you're going to go and where you're already getting to, that's just a speed bump along the way. So
just a speck.
Just a lesson.
Fantastic. So we're about to reset the cameras and jump into a third section.
Awesome.
Oh, I don't want this to end. I don't want this to end.
We'll do multiple.
Fantastic. All right. So we'll get stuck into it, guys. We'll see you in 2 seconds. Peace. Welcome back, guys. This is the third section, action-packed with value. I think we might keep it to 3 sections, because I'm very, very wary of your time, and I really do appreciate you guys hanging around with us. This has been a long one, but so worth it. So, Lewis, what would you say, because like I was saying to you before, I really want this last section to give kind of some actionable advice to someone that's maybe just getting started on their journey. They're trying to build out, trying to find their mission and build out where the fuck do I go from here, So what would be maybe some overlooked advice that maybe you got, or that's spoken about for people early on in their growth stage?
I like that you use the word overlooked, because I've got obviously a copy and paste answer. I'll give that, and I'm going to think of I'll think of things I haven't added into it. But the answers I always default to is very much, I haven't worded it like this, but spend time with yourself. Stop distracting yourself with fucking social media, partying, your friends, impressing others. Spend time with yourself and figure out who you are. A good analogy that I've been told is it's like Baskin Robbins, or it's like going to get ice cream, and some people have one ice cream, one flavor, and they say it's their favorite fucking flavor, and it's the only flavor they've tried. Yeah. It's like, spend time, especially when you're young, regardless of how old you are, start to try different things. I told you at the start of the podcast, my life goal was to be a teacher one day and be a personal trainer in the holidays. And I was like, you know what? Do I actually want to be a teacher? So I was a teacher aide at my old school for 2 terms. Actually, 1 term. I lasted 1 term. So as I did that just to get a taste of it, I was like, it's nice, but I don't like teaching fucking algebra. I just don't enjoy teaching that stuff. So the tips that I would get is really spend time and figure out who you are. But that's too general for my liking. I would actually give you the tips of determine your values. So go to that YouTube video, go through the video and determine your values would be step number 1. Get clear on the roadmap that you want to achieve. So get clear on I would call that your mission. So purpose and mission. Get clear on what do you want to genuinely achieve? What do you want to make for yourself? And that question will evolve. You're not going to nail that first time through. Values, because it's a process, you can get pretty clear on it. The mission, vision, purpose, that's an ever-evolving thing. You'll get kind of clear over a couple of years, in my opinion. I would say get a mentor. absolutely get a mentor. That has absolutely changed my life. The multiple mentors that I've had, and it turns decades into days, as Tony Robbins says. It gives you I always use it's like at school. If you're taking a test and your teacher's right next to you and you're able to talk to them and say, hey, what's the answers to the test? And they give it to you, that's what a mentor does. Why the fuck wouldn't you do it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to pay money for it. Sometimes you're going to invest time and energy and be resourceful to do that. Or you can just pick up their book that they spent 30 years learning a particular skill and they've written it in a book that you can consume in a weekend. Mm-hmm. Go learn. So I would get clear on who you are would be step one. So determine your values and then get clear on a mission, purpose, a direction of where you want to head. I would get yourself a mentor, and that might be in the form of a book. So if we're talking finances, money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad would be number one that I would personally suggest. There's other ones out there, but I would certainly start with that just to get your idea and your head wrapped around trading time for money, assets, liabilities, etc. And I guess the cliche step, guys, is take a lot of fucking action, more than you think. And to change that answer a little bit, at the same time, give yourself fucking time as well. Don't put the unnecessary pressure of having to achieve it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I told you like the amount of like stressful or hustle years that I had, which obviously served me. I'm grateful I did it. But I just had so much pressure of trying to impress people and trying to hit the millionaire status faster than anyone else and trying to retire faster than anyone else and just trying to be like, in the Herbalife days, I was trying to be like one of the youngest people to hit a particular rank in it. It's like, yes, that's cool. And it's good to have like little goals like that along the way if that's what you're into, but take the pressure off yourself. That's the purpose of setting a 10-year mission, is that you've got 10 years. You can fuck up 4 years of it and you still got time. But people say like, I'm going to be a millionaire in 12 months. And then in a business reality, you're probably going to get nine months into it, be negative 30 grand and be fucking stressed. Mm-hmm. So give yourself time would be probably the next step. It's like enjoy, like what they all say it, don't they? Like, it's not about the goal, it's about the journey or some version of that. Like, just enjoy it. Like, I'm enjoying being here right now. I enjoyed my day today, even though I made some failures. We had some clients that cancelled. We had some issues that happened, but it's like, it's all part of the journey and it's getting me to where I want to get to because it's aligned with what my values are. And I've got clear on who I am first, because most people don't do that part. They just set a big fucking goal based on someone else's opinion. Mm-hmm. So get clear on who you are. Step number one, set a long-term goal. So vision, mission, purpose, long-term goal. So you've got a big target to aim for, even though you might zigzag to get there. That's fine. You got the big target that you're aiming for. Someone told me it's like having a lighthouse out in the distance. You can see the lighthouse, but there's fucking like rocks and shit, and there's broken ships, and you got to navigate through that. You got to zig, you got to zag. Mm-hmm. That's fine. As long as you got your lighthouse there, you're going to get there eventually. And 3 was to get a mentor, and then 4, give yourself some time. Don't put that unnecessary pressure to achieve everything in a week or a month or a year or 2 years. Give yourself 10 years, because you can fuck up the first 4 and still have 6 years to go.
Yeah. And I'll add one thing onto the end of that there. It's like, you know, like you touched on briefly, like failure is a guaranteed, you know, in life, but fail quickly and move the fuck on.
Yes.
Fail really, really quickly. I think that's a Gary V quote even.
Yeah. I remember Will Smith saying that. I saw it it's like, fail fast, fail quickly. Because it's like, failure is the ticket to the lesson. Mm-hmm. So get those tickets faster. Like, fail faster. And like I said, move on. Mm-hmm. Fuck. Just don't dwell on it. I know Gary Vee is very big for saying that, not dwell on your losses and move on. So yeah, it's I absolutely agree, man.
Because like I don't know how this makes sense, but like do you remember that mine game that used to be on the old PCs that no one knows how to play? Like, you used to press random shit and all of a sudden you just explode.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, that just came into my head. And it's like,
how the fuck do you win that game?
I don't know how it works. Oh, actually, I watched a video.
I've seen a video, but I've forgotten it. But there was actually like a strategy behind it.
So it's all about probability. So like whatever number was in the was how many bombs were touching it.
That's right. I saw a video on it. I think it was on TikTok or something. Yeah. And it's like I was like, fuck. I would just randomly click it. Yeah. Anyways, back to your point. Yeah. So basically, like whenever failures are like when you're clicking somewhere in that field, and you know you so happen to not blow up, all this possibility around you was like, all right,
I've now ticked that off the box. I know, that particular thing doesn't work. That's one thing off my list of possibilities. I now know what direction I need to go, or maybe I need to repivot. Maybe through that hardship, and I know I'm speaking directly from my own experience here, is like all the hardship and the failures that I've gone through have forced me, as uncomfortable as it was, to sit down and go, hang on, am I stressed because that thing didn't pan out, or am I stressed because I don't know what I actually want to do?
I like that thought pattern.
Yeah, because
how has that served you?
Oh, I couldn't put it to words. Like you said before, like taking the time to just be with yourself and understand what it is that truly lights you up. Like I've been through, although I started Anarchy in high school, and that's been like the clothing brand. I've also had, web design agencies. I was building an app and all that kind of stuff down in Sydney. And all those things, in retrospect, were driven by ego and success, like monetary success when I say that. And because I did not enjoy my life. I did not enjoy sitting in front of the computer all day long, and like there was times, especially when I was living down in Sydney, where because my business wasn't lighting me up, I was avoiding doing the things that made me money because it meant doing more things of the thing that wasn't lighting me up. And it got to kind of a point.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, 100%. It got to the point where, and I actually haven't shared this on the podcast before, but I would literally do a line of cocaine and go door to door to businesses just trying to get someone to give me $300 to pay my rent.
Wow.
But then again, though, getting to that point was so valuable because I realized that I'm untouchable. Nothing can stop me. Everything, like every obstacle that's put in front of me is just a ladder away from, clearing it.
Fuck, my mind, like, when people talk, I'm guilty of doing this. When people talk, I'll think of an idea and I'll think like really deep, but then I'll miss what they're saying. Yeah. Fucking hell, what a learning experience that was, man.
It was. And like, I'm not sure, we haven't even touched on this, but like, what's your thoughts on moving away from your hometown early in terms of development?
I heard that from Grant Cardone. So he's got a book called Be Obsessed to Be Average.
I love that book,
really
man.
Very aggressive. Makes you think big. Fuck, he's aggressive.
I listened to it that many times.
I love it. And he talks about that, like some people don't, they need to move away from mummy's tita. I remember that line. So I see validity in it. I definitely do. I guess depending on what you're wanting to, get out of it. If you want to obviously get uncomfortable and grow more, then absolutely, do that. Just depends, because I'm sure you could find examples of people that have done really well and they utilize staying at home and not paying rent and putting their money away to save up for a business, and then they were able to start the business partner. So I'm sure there's examples that challenge that rule, but I definitely agree with it. Like get it out and experience the world. It's probably due to the using that label I got when I was younger. It's probably something that's more challenging for me, is to get out of my routine and get out of my comfort zone and get out of that unknown. I've lived out of home for the last 4 or 5 years now, but I definitely see, like, when you move out of home, fuck, you just need to become an adult. You got to do your own fucking washing. You got to pay the bills. Like, you got a landlord to service now. So it definitely matures you faster. I would probably ask questions to that individual of what they're wanting to do. But if you've got the ability to, and you believe in yourself, and you've got that ability to move out and take on the world, then fuck yeah, get out of there. Get out of the nest. Get out of the safety bubble that you're in, and definitely go take on the world. So I would agree.
I've got another question for you as well, and this is coming from things that I've dealt with personally in the past. Is when you're like in the early stages of building your career, whether it's like a business or maybe in the workplace or something like that, I definitely had a serious problem with asking people for money for my services and for my time and for my knowledge.
I can agree. Yeah.
So how did you, if you've experienced that, how did you get over that? How did you start to, really get comfortable with, charging your worth?
Cool. 2 parts. First part is, I learned this sales from Kerwin Ray. Incredible man. Check out his content. He's changed my life, that man. So value doesn't come from the solution. Value derives itself from the problem. For example, this is a trigger warning. It's just insensitive warning. If I offered you breast implants for $10,000, would you pay for it for you?
No,
Why not?
because I don't need them.
You've got no problem with your body image around that issue. Are there girls right now, ladies, paying that much money for breast implants?
And more.
And more, plus more, plus that's just the tip of an iceberg. Reason they have the problem. I offered you the same solution, but there's no value. You wouldn't pay $1 for it. You wouldn't want it. And it's the concept that there's no value in your solution. The value comes from the person's problem. So the reason I'm sharing that is what helps you believe in what you're offering is see the problem that you're solving for someone else. So for example, say you're say I'll use health and fitness. I'm in the health and fitness industry. Say the lady this morning, I'll use her again. Her name's Patty. Patty, I've mentioned you 3 times on a podcast today, and I met you this morning. So Patty, like she was anxious. It was affecting her relationship. She's got kids. So it's like, let's just use anxiety as an example. And I asked her these questions in my sales conversation. I said, Patty, is that affecting your ability to be a great role model for your kids? Yes. How is that going to affect your kids long term if you don't fix that? And she would tell me this, and she started crying, started getting emotional. And what I'm doing is I'm getting her to realize the value in her problem. Mm-hmm. How is that problem actually affecting her? So when it comes to selling yourself or believing in what value that you've got, understand the problem that you're solving and understand to the degree that you're impacting someone. Like I know, I looked her in the eyes and said, I'm going to fucking change your life, Patty. I'm going to change your life. I can guarantee it. You're going to be, your relationship with your partner is going to get better. She's a business owner, relatively new one. So I said, fuck, strap in. She's get ready for a good ride. But I said, like, does that show up in your business? She said, fuck yeah. When I go to client's house, she's a cleaner. When she goes to a client's house, she's nervous to meet the client. That's long term, that's going to lose her a lot of business. She's probably going to undercharge her services. So it's like, I just know how many problems will be solved from my value that I add into it. So that would be tip number 1. Just look at it a bit differently. Don't just look at the service that you're offering. Think of the problem that you're solving. So I'll shift that little perspective around. And probably it kind of just continues from that point is list out and get clear on like what is the value exchange that you are doing. So they're going to pay you, say, I know, $100 an hour, whatever you're doing, $100 an hour. What are you going to provide for them in that hour in relation to that problem being solved? Would someone pay $100 an hour? Like this, she signed up for $77 a week for one of our services, and that $77 a week, is that worth it for her to be a better parent for her kids? Is it worth it for her to have a better intimate relationship with her partner? Is that worth it for her to be a better business owner for her business? Answer is yes. Mm-hmm. So that's why she purchased it. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
So that's how I would personally approach that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you broke it down like that, because I definitely, and like you said before, how when someone's talking, the brain just goes nuts.
I can see your eyes when you do it. I do the same thing. So it's a good thing. You're a deep thinker. So
I was thinking back, like kind of put myself in the shoes of earlier Jack, and I used to position my services as like, oh, XYZ, this is, you're going to get a website, but it's like, no, they don't want a website. They want exposure.
Or they want leads, or they want sales, or they want that. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I was kind of pushing forward like I was trying to sell apples, and I look how shiny this apple is, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, quench your hunger.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Hey, that one was free, guys.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. So we have 8 minutes left. Is there anything that you want to share with our audience? Anything you want to get off your chest? This is a safe space.
Thank you for creating the safe space. I guess this just came to my mind, so I'll share it. I guess something that I've been something I try to live by, and I do my best to live by, is being super authentic and super transparent, showing my weaknesses, showing what I'm struggling with, and everyone that you look up to is still figuring their shit out. I think a lot of people, I'm so guilty of this, is they pedestal people, and they'll see someone that they look up to, whether it's someone on a podcast. They might say, oh my God, Jack, he's doing so well. He's got his own podcast. He's running his own business. It's like, Jack is still figuring his shit out. Jack's got fuckloads of problems. Jack has got some traumas he hasn't healed through yet. And everyone has that. But when you pedestal someone, you see all their upsides and you don't see any of their downsides. So what I would, I guess what I would like to share with people today is just understand that everything that you look up to someone is already in you. If you look up to someone because they're confident, you're confident as well in some area of your life. If you're looking down on someone, those areas are in you as well. If you're looking down on someone for being judgmental, you're judgmental in your life somewhere as well. If you're judging someone for I don't know, being mean or being angry or being frustrated, you're mean, you get angry, you get frustrated in your life as well. So I guess the thing I'd like to share is that don't pedestal people and think that they're amazing and they're incredible, which I'm sure they are. There are people out there. Just understand they're just like you and me. They've maybe taken some more action. They've maybe learnt some more stuff. They've listened to some more podcasts. They've put in some more work, but they're still figuring their shit out. They're still a normal human. They've still got good days, bad days. They've got good moments, bad moments, I should say. And they're just like you. The only maybe difference is they've probably taken more action or less action, and they've probably just put in more work than you have. And that might be based on their goals versus your goals. And you might not have the aspirations that some people do, which is totally fine as well. So I guess just learn to be authentic and don't pedestal people, because when you do that, you actually put yourself down at the same time. And don't put people in the pit, and don't judge on people, because everything you're judging them for, you do the exact same fucking thing in your life somewhere else. That's probably something that's been quite present in my life recently. So
super valuable.
Thought I'd share that.
And there's a quote from Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss.
Nice.
And it basically says like all the idols and all our kind of people that we look up to are flawed human beings that have gotten really good at one or two things.
I fucking like that. I've actually that book, I haven't read it, but someone recommended it to me the other month. So
it's a sign. Get on it.
It is a sign. It's popped up.
Fantastic. And the reverse of that question, what can myself and my audience do to help, grow your journey and to help drive you along?
Support this amazing podcast, share it around. Just reach out if you need help. It's probably my most asked question, is there anything I can do to help? So if you guys got any value from this, please send myself a message, send Jack a message, send the page a message and connect, share it with someone. I like Tony's quote. He always says, teach one and give one. Like, if it's helped you, send it to one person. So the thing to help my journey, check it out. Check out my stuff. If you like it, if you resonate with it, get involved with it. I do have things that I do sell courses-wise and programs-wise, but I only do that if you're the right person. I only work with the right people that I'm meant to help and I have value to help, because I can't help everyone. And just work on yourself. I think if the world's energy and the vibration of the world rises, that's how we make that geometric change, where it's like if you and me, Jack, just become the world's best human beings and we just are just incredible with our emotions and who we are every single day, that's great. But what if everyone across the world got better by 2% tomorrow? So just work on you every single day, support other people that are trying to make moves and are making moves and helping people, and that's all I really got. That's all I got.
That's fantastic, man. Plug your socials, plug your podcast, all that kind of stuff. Where can the people find you?
Lewis Huckstep, it's quite a unique name, so it's pretty much that for everything. So the Lewis Huckstep Experience is the podcast, but YouTube is Lewis Huckstep, Instagram Lewis Huckstep, TikTok Lewis Huckstep, Facebook Lewis Huckstep, LinkedIn Lewis Huckstep. It's literally the same for everything. So
what about MySpace? Lewis Huckstep?
Fuck, remember that? I just thought of a funny memory. I'll share it while we finish it off. Back when I was super anxious, and this is, I remember on Facebook, I just moved to Australia, and this is my 5th school that I've moved to, and I didn't know anyone. First day, I cried again because I didn't fucking know anyone, didn't like it. And Facebook had just started coming out, and I remember it was like the most attractive girl at the school, like she's the prettiest girl, and I'm like this anxious, 11-year-old boy. I remember I had MySpace open, and I was on her profile, I was trying to add her as a friend. It took me like an hour and a half to click add friend because I was too nervous if she saw me add her. I don't know why I just thought of that, but I thought I'd just share it just for context, or being vulnerable and being transparent. Just to show that people that are speaking on podcasts and like this and seem confident on video have come from some very anxious places. I remember I clicked it and I like shut it down because I didn't want to see what she did. I saw her at school the next day. I was like, fuck, I don't know if she saw if I added her or not. I just want to share. I was a really anxious kid.
Wow. And look at you now.
Still anxious sometimes, but I've definitely come a long way.
Yeah, fantastic. Lewis, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for opening up. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your time with myself and our incredible audience. I got so much value from this. I hope our listeners did too, and I hope you did.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Before the Money. As always, this has been a fantastic time. So thank you for sharing your time with us, and I will see you bouncing with energy in the next episode. Peace and love.
Hey BTM family, I want to congratulate you on staying all the way to the end of this episode. You're making the conscious choice right now to become the type of person that your big dreams require you to be, which means very excitingly that you're already halfway there. Now, if you took home a piece of value from today's episode, remember to tag myself and our fantastic guests when you share this episode to your channel of choice. Also, please let us know you're loving the show by leaving a really quick 5-star review or by subscribing to our YouTube channel. All these actions don't cost you a cent. They are free and they really do go a long way in improving the quality of the show and the amount of value that we can give you guys every single week. So last thing before we say goodbye, check out the awesome range at anikilabel.com and use your VIP discount BTM15 to take 15% off your total order. All the links you need are listed in the show notes below, so go and have an explore, click on some stuff, see where it takes you. Really appreciate you hanging out, guys. I'll catch you next week for another episode of your favorite podcast, Before the Money.